In today's video I'm going to show you how to create this Star Wars text effect using Adobe Photoshop. There's a fair few little bits and pieces that we need to create this text, so let's pop on over to our folder now and have a look at what we need to make this effect. First thing you're going to need to install on your computer is the SF Distant Galaxy font. Okay, when you open that folder up, there's different variations of that font, but all you want is the top one that says SF Distant Galaxy. Simply double click on it and install it onto your computer. Okay, it should only take a few seconds to do. You're also going to need this Stars and Flares brush set, which will open up in Photoshop later on. It will have some little stars that we can use in our design. We're also going to need two gradients. We've got the Chromes gradient pack, and we've also got the Dials gradient pack. We'll use those in Photoshop a little bit later on. You're also going to need this metal texture, which we're going to put over the top of our text. Okay, let's close that one off, and you're also going to need the star background, which we're going to begin with today, and that's going to be the background image that you see behind our text. Okay, so let's pop over to Photoshop and get started. Okay, my resolution's a little bit out on this computer, so it's a bit bigger than usual, but you should be able to see all the tools that I use, and you should be able to do the same on your computer either way. So let's get started by making ourselves a brand new document. We'll set it up to be about 1000 pixels wide. We'll go about 600 pixels for the height. Resolution will be set to screen resolution, so 72 pixels per inch, and we'll stick with RGB color mode. Click OK once you've got those settings all done, and if your computer's a bit faster than mine, there we go, you should get this white canvas on your page about that size. First thing you want to do is bring in that star background. So to do that, we go up to the File menu and we just pop down to Place Embedded, and I'll just go to that folder. So that's the Star Wars text effect folder, and you should be able to see the star background. Once you've got it selected, click on Place, and it will place it into your document. Now it's going to be a little bit smaller than your actual document, so what I'd recommend is hold the Alt and the Shift key at the same time and just stretch that out until it's perfect size, fills up your canvas. Then you can press the tick at the top of your page or simply press Enter, and you should have your backdrop looking good now. I'm just going to open my Layers panel up over here because we're going to do a little bit of work now on this background to make it look a little bit darker. Okay, so what I'm going to do is right click on that layer and go to the blending options. Another way to get to your blending options really quickly is just simply double click next to the text there. So next to star background, just double click your mouse, and if my computer hurries up, there we go, we should get our layer style box appear. In the layer style, we want to go down to a color overlay. So select the color overlay here, and we're going to change the blend mode to multiply. Once we've done that, we're going to change this color here. Okay, and we're just going to type in a hexadecimal code down the bottom. It's going to be A6, A6, A6. And that's just like a light shade of grey. We'll click OK. That's going to go across the top of our background just to darken it down a little bit. So you can press OK on that, and you can see our background's looking a little bit darker than it was before. Now while we've still got our star background layer selected, what we're going to do is just pop down to this little button in our layers box here, the half filled circle, and we're going to click on it, and we're going to go up the top and select solid color. We're going to put a color over the top of this background. Okay, and the color that I want you to pick, just down in the hexadecimal color code down in the bottom there, I want you to type in FCE D82, and it's going to pick this yellow color. That's going to go across the top of our image. Because our text is yellow, we're just going to put a light shade of yellow across our background as well, so it kind of matches the text. Now to make this blend in with our background, we need to change the blending mode. Okay, so we're going to, while we're selected on this color fill layer, change where it says normal, and we're going to change that blend mode into multiply. Okay, you can start to see the background coming back again now. A little bit yellow still, so I'm going to change the opacity of that layer from 100% down to 25%. You just get this really light shade of yellow now across the top of our darker background. Okay, so that's our color fill layer all done. That's our star background layer all done. So what we can do now is hit that padlock while these layers are selected, and that will lock them into place. I'm just going to press this little up arrow next to the effects here. That'll just minimize my star background effects, save a bit of room in the layers panel. And I'm also going to delete the background layer down here. There's nothing on it, we don't need it anymore, so I'm just going to trash it with the trash can. So we should just have 2 layers left there now. Alrighty, so next thing I'm going to do is make a new layer. I'm going to hide the layers panel, and I'm going to add some text. So use your text tool for this. Now the font that we want is the one we installed before, the SF Distant Galaxy Regular, so do a search for that. The size of our font we're going to make about 200, and you need to get your character panel up by going to your window menu and selecting character. There's a few more things we want to change here. Okay, the first one we want to change is over here, our leading, which is our line spacing. We're going to change that to 155. And then below that we've got this VA with the horizontal arrows. That's our tracking, or it's the amount of space between each character that we type on our page. And we're going to change that to 50. Okay, you can hide your character panel once you've done that. Make sure your text color is white up the top there. And in capital letters I'm just going to write Star Wars across the top of my page. Okay, Star will go on one line, Wars will go on the other. Grab your move tool once you've done that, just move it roughly into the center of the page. Okay, there's a few things we need to adjust on this text. First of all, you can see that the S and the T are connected, and that's how it looks in the Star Wars logo. The R and the S should do the same thing, but at the moment there's a bit of a gap here between them. So I'm going to grab my text tool and click between the R and the S, and go back to my character panel, and just adjust. Actually, I'm not going to adjust that, I'm going to adjust this one over here, the kerning, which is the space between just 2 characters. I'm going to try minus 75 to start with. That didn't quite close the gap off, so I'm going to try and close it a bit more with minus 100. There we go, that's got it. So let's join the R and the S up. That's looking pretty good. So now I'm just going to close off that character panel. Grab my move tool, and if you want you can just move it around, get it into the position you want. Next thing we need to do is stretch the end of the character S and character R here out so they're level with the words below them. Okay, so to do that we need to just select our text once by clicking on it, or you can go over to your layers there and make sure you've got the Star Wars layer selected. Go up to your type menu, and we're going to convert to shape. Okay, it doesn't look like it does too much, but I'll show you what we can do to this now. So I'm going to hold the Alt key and just scroll in a little bit on my mouse, and I should be able to get a bit closer to the action. I'm going to start with the letter R over here. Now I'm going to go down to my toolbox and find my selection tool, which is the black arrow. Hold my mouse down on it and select the direct selection tool. Okay, it's the white arrow you want. With the white arrow you can click once on the point of the R and then click and drag it out. If you hold shift while you do this, it'll keep it perfectly straight, and you want to drag it out to the same width as the letter below it. Then we're going to do this top point on the R here, so click once on it first to select it, and then click again and drag to move it. And remember to hold shift as well to keep it perfectly straight. And now it should be level with the S below it. Now if you go back to the start of the word star, this S here needs a bit of work as well, needs a bit of stretching out, so let's click on the bottom left hand corner first once, then click and drag, hold shift at the same time and stretch it to the same width as the W below it. Same for this top corner here, click on it once, then click and drag again and drop it into position while holding shift. Okay, Control 0 will zoom you back out to full screen so you can see everything. That's looking pretty good. It's pretty similar to the actual Star Wars logo, so I think we might stick with that. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to go over to our toolbox and select our arrow here, which is our move tool, and then go over to our layers. Okay. This Star Wars layer that you can see, what I want you to do is right click on it and go to duplicate layer. It's going to ask for a name, just leave it as is, so Star Wars copy is fine. Click on OK. When you click OK, just change the fill setting from 100% to 0%. Alright. Once you've done that, right click on the Star Wars copy layer and duplicate that one. Star Wars copy 2 is a good name, so click OK and ensure that the fill is also set to 0 and not 100%. Okay, so we've got a few different layers in there now that we're going to work on one by one. The first one we want to work on now is the original Star Wars layer. So let's go back down to this Star Wars layer and click on that. And once you've selected it, double click in the area next to it. Okay, and that's going to bring up your layer style panel again. Here it is. Mine's a little bit laggy today, but this is what we need to see. The first thing I want to add in is a bevel and emboss. Okay, so check the bevel and emboss option here. And what you want to do is change the style to a stroke emboss. Technique should be smooth. Depth is 100%. Directions up. The size we need to change to 3 pixels. Soften is fine. The angle we need to make 120 degrees. Global light 30 degrees. Now we need to change this gloss contour. Okay, we've got from this drop down box a few different shapes we can choose here. Now the one that I want to use doesn't actually exist. We're going to have to make the shape ourselves. Okay, so what I want you to click on is this one down the bottom here. If you hover over the top of it, it's called rolling slope descending. And once you've got it selected, just click out of it. Now if you actually click on the little white and grey shape here, it's going to let you edit this curve. Now the curve I want you to make it, just grab these points that you can see, and I'm going to drag that one there up the top. Not right to the top, just near the top. And I'm going to drag this one somewhat with it, just up there. This one here I'm going to drag more towards the bottom. We're just going to get a kind of downwards shape curve. Something looking a bit like that, I guess. Let me see. Something like that would look good. Okay, if you want, you can put 37% and 60% there and see what that does. I'm not too good with this tool, but as long as you've got a bit of a curve heading downwards to the right, click OK, and that will do us for that. The other thing we need to change is the highlight mode. It says screen, just change that to the vivid light option. I'm going to change it from 50% opacity to 75, and same for the shadow mode, just change it to 75% as well. Quite a few things to change there, so double check you've got everything the same as me. Once you do, we're going to go over to our left hand column here and choose the contour option. This time the contour option, we're just going to change it to this rolling slope again and just leave it as it is. Check the box that says anti-alias and leave it at 50% range. Okay. Next option, we're going to keep going down and we're going to select the stroke option here. Okay, once you've selected the stroke, what we're going to do is make the size 10 pixels. The position will be center. The blend mode will stay as normal and 100% opacity. The fill type is going to be a gradient. Okay, when we select gradient, a few other options come up here. Before we change the color of this stroke, we're just going to change the style from linear to reflected, and the angle needs to be 35 degrees. Okay, everything else is fine there, so now we can change the color of our stroke. So all you need to do is click once on this color box that's black and white at the moment, and we get the gradient editor button. And what we're going to do is load in one of the gradients that we have saved in our Star Wars text effect folder. Okay, so if we go into that folder, we're going to open up the dials gradient first, so load that in. When you do, you get these different gradients that have been made for you up here. And the one we're looking for is one of these gold ones. It's called Golden Dial Top X11. Okay, it's the second gold one in here, and you can see the name here, Golden Dial Top X11. Make sure you select that one. Now once you've selected it, you can see down here we've got the color bar with all the colors used in that gradient. You just need to change the color of the lighter yellows. So what you do is just click on the light yellow and then click on the color box at the bottom here, and that will allow you to change that yellow. We just need to slightly tweak it. Okay, and it's going to be E1 CA71. Okay, so it's just a slightly darker yellow, and I'm going to highlight that code and copy it and click OK. Then I'm going to click on the next light yellow, go to the color box at the bottom and just paste by pressing Ctrl V that code in again. And we need to do that for all these light yellow colors. Just click on the color box and replace it with that darker yellow color. Okay, last one here now. Okay, once you've replaced those 5 yellow boxes with a slightly darker color, click on OK, and you should have your stroke set up there. Next thing we're going to do is go over and put an inner shadow onto our text. Okay, the inner shadow settings, we just need to change the opacity here from 35% to 50%. The distance should be set to 0, choke will be 0, and the size will be 1 pixel, so it's a very small inner shadow, and everything at the bottom is fine. Now the last thing we want to put on this is a gradient overlay, so just go down and find the gradient overlay option here. Blend mode is going to be normal at 100%, got linear 90, so yeah, the only thing we need to change here is the color of our gradient. Okay, so what we're going to do is click on this black box. Okay, and what I want you to do is select, we might select this one here, okay, with 4 different colors. Now we're going to change this and choose our own values. So the first little color box, which is yellow, I want you to click on that and change the color down the bottom. We're going to type in a code here. It's going to be ED E1B1. It's like a light yellow color. Click OK. Make sure the location is set to 5% as well. The next color box along, click on the purple color down the bottom and change its hexadecimal code to ECD98F. And again we get a slightly darker yellow. Click OK. Its location, change it from 35% there to 75%. Next color along is orange. Click on that. Down the bottom, click on the orange. We're going to change its color. So let's change it to E1 CA71. Click OK. Its location is going to be 88%. Okay, so that moves it 88% of the way along the timeline here. And finally, click on this little blue box and click on the blue color. We're going to change it to BE8936, and we get this darkish orange, almost a brown kind of color. Click OK on that. Ensure its location is moved up to 100%. The last thing I'm going to do now is click on this little black button here. It's actually the opacity, and leave it at 100% opacity, but change its location to 5% as well. A little bit confusing. Hopefully you got that. Click OK once you have, and that gradient is going to go across the top of our text. Alrighty, so I think that will do us for now. So what you can do is click OK, and you're going to see some massive changes to your text. Okay, it's starting to look really cool. You're starting to get that really nice gold effect, and the border around it is, or the stroke, is starting to look pretty fancy as well. So that's our original layer done. What we're going to do now is start working on the first copy layer. So if we go back to our layers here, we're going to move up to the Star Wars copy layer and simply double click on that. When you double click on this layer, again your layer style panel will appear, and the first thing we're going to do is add a stroke. Okay, in the stroke options here, we'll leave it at size 10 pixels. I'm going to have it centered. The blend mode this time, instead of normal, I want you to go down and choose overlay about halfway down that list. Stay at 100%. We're going to choose a gradient fill type. Again, it's going to be reflected, and the angle this time is going to be 90 degrees. Now the colors are going to change as well, so I want you to click on this gold color bar that you can see, and we're going to load in a new gradient. Okay, you might remember back in our box, in our folder that was Star Wars text effect folder, we've got the chromes gradient that we can load in. So click on that and load it in. As you scroll down in your list, you're going to see even more gradients have been added to our presets panel here. Now the one we're looking for is Fawcett 110, and I think from memory it's going to be one of these ones. There it is right there. So it's got a bit of black around the edges, some greys through the middle there, and you can see the name Fawcett 110. Okay, you don't need to change anything once you've selected, so just click on OK, and that's going to be the stroke that goes around the outside of our text. You can start to see it coming into play here. Okay, so the stroke's all good. The next thing I want to put on is a gradient overlay. So just go down a bit and select the gradient overlay option. In gradient overlay, you want to change the blend mode here to hard light. Opacity will stay the same. Now the gradient we're going to change. We're going to choose Gold Dial Tops X7 Angled. And from memory it's this one right here. So it's one of the gold presets that you brought in before. Gold Dial Tops X7 Angled is its name. So look for that one. It's got about 3 gold lines through it with a bit of darker brown around the outsides of it. And click on OK once you've selected it. We've got linear here. Make sure to reverse it. I'm not sure what that does exactly. It doesn't really change it, but we'll just leave that reverse box checked. Everything else is good there. We're going to put a pattern overlay on this as well, but at the moment we haven't got a pattern to put on it. So if I click on this pattern overlay, we can choose some patterns to put on top of our text. If I just move this box to the side, you can see this diagonal line is currently over our text. You might want to put some spots on it or something like that. What we want to do is create our own gradient, our own pattern. So what I'm going to get you to do is just uncheck that pattern overlay for the minute. Click OK. And we're going to make our own pattern to put over the top of this Star Wars text. I want you to go to File and Open. And from your Star Wars text effect folder, open up the metal texture. And the metal texture is a bunch of scratches, and that's what we're going to use to put over the top of our text as a pattern. To make this a pattern, simply go up to your Edit menu and Define Pattern. It will ask for a name. Just give it the name Metal Texture and click on OK. And that's now a pattern that we can use back in this document. So I'm going to go back to my layers, and on the Star Wars copy layer I'm just going to double click in this empty space, and that will bring up my layer style box, and we can now put a pattern overlay on. So the pattern we want, there it is right there, the one we just made, the metal texture. Okay. Once you have got that selected, if you just move your box to the side, you should be able to see how that's looking. It's made our text really dark. Okay, so we need to change the blend mode. So up the top where it says normal for the blend mode, just change it to overlay. That'll help it blend in with the text a bit nicer. Everything else is fine, so we can click on OK. And you can see now those scratches have appeared across the top of our text. And it's starting to look quite cool. So that's the first copy layer all done. Okay, so I'm just going to minimize these effects options here. So that layer Star Wars is done, Star Wars copy is done, we're up to the Star Wars copy 2 layer now. We want to do a bit of editing on that. So let's double click in the empty space next to that, and that will bring up our layer style panel one more time. And we're going to go straight to the Bevel and Emboss option here. Okay. Now what I want to make sure we've got is a stroke emboss from the style, and it should be a smooth one. 100% for the technique. We've got up, the size is 3, the soften is 0, everything's fine at the top. The angle's 120, everything's good here. The thing we do need to change is this gloss contour. So from the drop down box, I want you to select these curvy lines here called ring. That's the type of gloss contour we want for this one. Make sure you also check anti-aliased. We've got vivid light 75, multiply 75, everything else is fine there, so just double check that you've got the same settings as I do. Once you've done that, we're going to go down and put a contour effect on this. In the contour effect, we're going to change our contour here to this one up the top. If you hover over it, it's called Cove Deep. Anti-alias should be checked and it should be set to 50%. That's our contour done. Last thing we want to do is put a stroke onto this layer. So let's check the stroke option. Should be size 10. Position center. Blend mode overlay at 100%. We've got a gradient fill type. We're going to go back down and choose one of the earlier ones we used, which was the Golden Dial Top X11 gradient fill. Okay, look for the name. Make sure you've got it right. It's this one just here, the second gold coloured one. Click on OK. you should have reflected as your option, and your angle this time is going to be 5 degrees. So just type in 5 degrees. Everything else is all good there, so I'm going to click on OK. We've got our text looking pretty nice. Now, one thing you might add to this text is an outer glow. Okay, so to add an outer glow, we're going to have to right click on this copy to layer and duplicate it. Okay, it's going to come up with the name Star Wars Copy 3. We're going to change that to glow for our name this time. So you'll see in my layers panel now I've got this glow option. Once it's in there, I want you to right click on it, and there should be the option to rasterize the layer style. Just do that for me and change its fill here to 0 or 0%. Okay, we're going to now double click on this glow. Double click on the glow layer, that'll bring up your layer style panel. Once you're in there, you just want to go down the bottom and change the outer glow. Alrighty, so once you've got the outer glow there, we're going to change it to a linear light blend mode. The opacity should be 75%. The noise will stay at 0. The color box here, which is white at the moment, we're going to click on, and we're going to type in the color E7 BF2A, and that'll bring up a darkish kind of yellow or gold color for our glow. Technique will be softer, spread 0, size only 3 pixels. We'll keep it nice and small. Everything down the bottom is fine, so we'll just click on OK. And there is a slight glow now around our text. Okay, we're going to add some flares into the image now, so just some little bright sparks to our text, a bit like what you can see in the background, those bright stars. We're going to do some of that on the text. The way we do that is we use our brush tool. So in your toolbox, select your brush. Up the top, you can change your brush here. At the moment, we haven't got any flare brushes loaded in, but if you go up to this little cog and load brushes, in your Star Wars text effect folder, you've got the stars and flares brush. And just load it in. It'll just take a second, but down the bottom, we've got these stars and flares now that we can use. And the one you want is the one that has 1310 written on it. Okay, it's a nice looking little star. And you might have to use your square brackets. The left square bracket will make your brush smaller, the right one will make it bigger. Just make it a bit smaller so you can see it moving around your page. Before you start putting those little flares onto your text, I want you to open up the brush panel by going to your window menu and selecting brush. In the brush panel, just go to shape dynamics. And there's just a few things we want to change here. We just want to change the size jitter to 15%. We'll go down to the angle jitter and make it 100%. And everything else is all good, so you can just close that brush panel off. We're going to make a new layer. So in our layers panel, hit that new layer option down the bottom next to the trash can there, and we'll rename it by double clicking on it and calling it flares. Before you actually start putting them on your page, you need to change the blend mode here, and we want to choose linear light again. And the last thing we're going to do before we put our flares into our image is simply go over and change our color here. So in your color box, I've got white at the moment. I'm just going to type in the hexadecimal code EAD994. It's going to give us this light yellow kind of color. Okay, so with our brush now, we should be good to go and put some flares on the shiny parts of our text. For example, this S here has got a little shiny point on the end here. I'm just going to click on top of it and click once, and you see this little flare will appear. And it's just a matter of going around. You can add some different sized ones if you want. Just use your square brackets to make them bigger and smaller, but add a few flares to those shiny parts of the letters. That'll just spice it up a bit, make it look a little bit more exciting. Okay, I think you get the idea, but you can see a few little flares now around the outside of my text, and it's starting to look good. Okay, So that's basically it. One last thing you can do as well to make this look a little bit better is just move this gradient overlay in the background of our text. You can move it up and down and try and get a better looking effect. And the way we do that in our layers panel, simply go back to the Star Wars copy layer and double click on it. And that's going to bring up our layer style panel. And if you go down to the gradient overlay option here, just click on that. You don't have to adjust anything. Oops. Just move your box to the side for a moment. You can actually just click on your text here and move that gradient overlay up and down a little bit. And my computer's a little bit slow, so this may not work, but you can just move it up and down until you get that looking pretty cool. Okay, so mine looks a bit ugly at the moment. Just getting darker and darker, so I might move it back up. Okay, I'm sure you guys can get a much better looking effect than me, so I might just leave it for now, and I'll leave that in your capable hands to get a good looking effect. My computer's a bit too slow to worry about that now. But that's basically it. That's your Star Wars text completed. So to save up, you just go to File, Save As. Now, you can choose how you want to save this. If you want to come back and do some more edits to it, maybe change the text to something else, or change the colors, save it as a PSD file. That will retain the layers and let you come back and edit it as need be. If you're fully finished with it and happy with it, change it to a JPEG format. Okay, and just give it the name Star Wars text. Alright, and then you can click on Save. A little box will appear asking what settings you want to leave it at. We want to leave it at its highest quality, so it's maximum setting there. So just move that lever right to the end and click on OK. That will save your Star Wars text. You can move on to the next tutorial.